So, Snetterton 300. Turn 1 is a very fast corner, you want to carry as much speed as possible, so for that you just feather the brakes and use the downforce of the car, treat it as a double apex turn, first one, second one, be aware of the off track. For turn 2, brake in between first and second signs, keep a tight line here as much as you can, be aware of the throttle, you can spin the car if you're too early. For turn 3 you don't need to brake at all, just lift and coast. The turning point is before the turn sign, use all the available track on the exit. For turn 4 you want to brake in between first and second road sign. Again, keep a tie line here, you can use second. Second is faster but third gear is more consistent. Next, Hamilton turn, this is a flat out but not with cold tires, use all the available track. And here you want to carry as much speed as possible. Reposition for the next corner. Here you don't need to brake at all, just use the downforce of the car and lift and coast. Use all the available track on the exit. It's a very important corner because it's a long straight ahead. And now it comes the most difficult part of the track. You need to brake right before the bridge, keep some brake pressure applied, trail brake into the corner. Here you can brake a little bit more and use all the available track on the exit. If you overdo the braking, you will just end up spinning the car because it's not enough traction available. This part is an easy flat out. You need to keep as close to the right line as possible. On the third sign you start braking and then you go on the throttle as soon as possible on the exit. And in short, that's a lap of Snetterton 300. Now we're gonna look into more details for each and every corner. Turn 1 is a very important corner because you'll carry so much speed throughout here and it's easy to lose time if you don't get it right. The best way to do it is to start turning right after you stop seeing the one sign, down fifth to fifth gear, and try to carry as much speed as possible, so you're using the downforce of this car. If you brake too much here, you won't have enough downforce to make the turn, so the key is to carry speed in order to have the ability to turn. The brake pressure is something like 25% at max. I'd say something in between 10 and 15 would be ideal, and you'll want to treat it as a double apex corner. So this is the first one, second one, and then just straighten up the car. For turn 2, you'll brake in between the 1 and 2 road signs. So kinda here we start to apply the brakes. And you want to turn slight early and keep a tight line here. This is the best way to do it. You'll cover the less distance and you'll gain time. Here we go a bit wider than we should have gone. So ideally you want this line to be tighter. You want here to be a bit on the curb. So at this part you want to still be hugging the inside curb in order to have the best exit possible. For turn 3, you don't need to brake at all, you just need to use the downforce of the car, and right before the turning sign you'll lift and immediately you'll get back on the throttle. You need to use this inside curb to stick up your car, and be aware of the off track on the exit. It's very easy to get an off track here. It's a pretty cheap off track if you just touch the grass. But moving on, for turn 4, the braking point, it depends on the track conditions. In later stages of the track you can brake right at the 1 sign, but mostly you will be safer if you brake in between 1 and 2 signs. So here, as you can see, we start braking in between them. It's a pretty heavy braking zone. Turn in slight early, and again it's the same thing as turn 1. You want to hug the inside curb as much as possible. Again, here we go wider than we ideally want, so this could be improved. If you just hug it a bit longer than I did, you'll gain a bit more time, but it was not the end of the world. It was still okay. You can use second or third gear for this. Now the Hamilton turn 5. Here at the early stages of the race, this won't be flat out. You'll need to lift right at the turning point. Turning point, it's slight past the Hamilton sign, so 1 or 2 car width, then you start to turn. Regarding the position of the car, you'll want to use all this curb, but don't use too much of the grass, because too much of the grass will unsettle the car so much. This is, I think it's picture perfect what you can use. I think this is the limit. You can't use more than that. On the exit, you can touch a bit the grass on the right side and still will be okay. You won't get an off track for that. Now if we move again to the cockpit camera for the next turn, the braking point is right before the turning point, the turning sign. So you'll want to brake, and here there are 2 approaches for this corner. The first approach is to just use as much curb as possible and stay on the throttle, and the second approach is to just hug the inside curb. I kinda chose something in between because my car was unsettled from this exit. So as you can see, I didn't have so much time to go on the left side and reposition. So this was not ideal, but I carried a lot of entry speed throughout here. And for the next turn, the best approach is to not brake at all. If you brake here, you lose time. What you need to do is to turn in slight early, turn before the Williams sign, and then go back on the throttle as soon as possible using both of the curves. This will gain you time, because if you trail brake throughout this corner, it's already a big loss because of the straight. Now this complex of corners are the most difficult. Here you will need to brake slide before you see the bridge and apply something like 25-30% braking. Keep holding on the brakes, downshift, and here it's important that you take as much of the curb as possible. You see, you'll want here you can use a bit of the grass to open up the right hander. So this is the corner that matters, this one, because the next one is almost flat out. So in order to do that, we need to set up properly. We brake before the bridge, we keep trail braking, downshifting to 5th. Right about here we downshift to 4th. Keep a tight line to open up that corner that's interesting for us. And then right after we have a good opening, we start to turn again. We use 3rd gear. 2nd is tempting, but 3rd is it's the best that you can use. And what you'll want here is in this spot to be already back on throttle. For me, it was not possible because of the braking. But I did other laps where I've gained more time by being on throttle early here in this position here. So kind of about here. Next is a flat out. You want to take a bit of the curb, be aware of the off track, and here it's very important to stay to the right side as much as possible. If you go a bit wider than this, you'll lose time because you'll cover more distance than required. And the braking sign for here are those sticks to the right side. You see there are 5 of them in total. This is 5th. When you see the 4th or the 2nd one, as you approach it, you start to apply some of the brakes. It's a very early braking, but you need this in order to be able to stop the car for the last turn. So here, as you can see, we apply something like 25% braking, and we keep this braking pressure until we can straighten up the car. So here in this position here, when the car is straight, we can apply more and we can start turning into the corner. Of course, I was a bit I didn't want to risk this lap because the first two sectors were really strong, so I wasn't at my limit for this turn, but ideally you'll want to carry more speed here. I was slower than I could have been, and use all the available track on the exit. So on the exit you can use all that curb. In my case, I was a bit slower throughout here because I wanted to play it safe, but all that available track can be used. And that's a lap of Snetterton 300. It was, let's see, it was a 1:46.7. There are some time to be gained, but it was a pretty safe lap for me in order to be able to showcase this for you. If you want to see more content or you want to see more track guides, things like that, then subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a great week ahead on this track, and see you in the next one. Bye.